Welcome to an episode of the Strategy Playbook Podcast. This podcast is designed for internet entrepreneurs, brands, businesses, and individuals who understand the power of strategy and how far it can take them. It's no coincidence that today we're going to be having a conversation with Amobi Okugo, the owner and founder of A Frugal Athlete, also a legendary Forbes 30 Under 30 listener. Today, we're going to get an inside look at what it takes to be great and what it takes to do something that makes the world a little more human. So, Amobi, tell the listeners who you are and what do you do?
Thank you for having me. So, retired athlete. Now I'm kind of siloed in as an athlete entrepreneur. My biggest thing is acting as a facilitator for ideas. Basically, I use my 3C model: connect, create, and consult. So that's what I'm all about. Obviously, really passionate about like my family and stuff like that. But as it relates to what we're going to talk about and what I actually do, that's what I do. I'm a facilitator.
That's what's up, man. I want to go deep into how you've structured your career and your journey, but I think it's always important to start from the roots and how maybe you picked up on some lessons when you were, younger. And I think family plays a big role in that. Like, what do you think at the beginning of your journey kind of to take shape as what you're doing today?
No, I think that's a great point. I think growing up, first generation Nigerian American, being the oldest of 4 siblings, I would say the biggest thing is like you have to put the work in. So seeing my parents sacrifice a lot for me and my siblings to put us in like the best schools. They really put a value on education. But at the end of the day, you can be exposed to these environments. But if you don't put the work in, you're not going to get what you're supposed to get out of it. So learning that from a young age has definitely helped me, not only throughout my professional career, but now that I'm in my second professional career as a businessman.
Yeah, that's what's up. And I think, that your family investing in you is huge. Did you always want to be a pro soccer player, or what inspired that kind of confidence?
So like growing up, like I'm not going to say I knew I was going to be a professional soccer player, or like that's everything I wanted at 5 years old. Obviously at that age, my time, don't want to age myself, but everyone wanted to be like the next Michael Jordan. Yeah. So like from that standpoint, but it wasn't like I'm doing everything in my power to become a professional athlete. It didn't really turn until I started, playing competitive soccer. And then I started seeing that, all right, this is like a pathway for me. Like if I stay on this path, professional soccer is probably going to be an opportunity. So it wasn't right away, but eventually it became something that I was looking to pursue.
Totally. And let's start talking about this inception point of A Frugal Athlete, right? What kind of conversations were you having with teammates, or like what kind of internal dialogue started to create this vision for A Frugal Athlete?
That's a great question. So, I mean, in the locker room, there's always like a little bit of talk, some deal flow, things like that. But at that time, money was still taboo. So no one really like, this is the deal I'm doing. Like, I think you should get in. It was never really that. But around the time when A Frugal Athlete started to shift for me, and like the initial like light bulb switch was after I saw the 30 for 30 Broke documentary. And I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like these are athletes that are much higher level from a compensation standpoint than me. And they're falling into financial traps that I'm definitely able to see or would be able to succumb to if I'm not smart about my money. So it was more me looking for athletes that didn't fit that model that they showed in the Broke documentary. And like, how can I use them as roadmaps to do it the right way? And when I started A Frugal Athlete, or initially, like when I was doing my brainstorming, there was no athletes or there was no platform that like readily talked about these athletes are doing it the right way, or this athlete, you should consider doing this with your stocks. It was no like one platform. There would be like the one-off articles on Forbes or Bloomberg or CNBC and all that stuff, but it wasn't like a to-go platform. So I was like, why not create it? It started off as a blog, like a weekly blog. I'd highlight one athlete that I felt exemplified what it meant to be a frugal athlete. And then from there, it's built to what we are attempting to do now.
Yeah. Let's talk about that roadmap, right? I think to create something that is valuable takes a lot of effort. And so in terms of how you approach that conversation of what it truly means to be a frugal athlete, what goes into that equation, and what do you think some athletes that are, just hearing you for the first time should be implementing today?
That's great. I think for me, the first thing you got to do if you're starting anything is like, all right, ask yourself, what problem are you solving? So it doesn't have to be like this $100 million business. It could be a side hustle. It could be whatever that you want it to be. But what problem are you solving, and how are you answering? How are you giving that solution? So for me, with the Frugal Athlete, obviously it's changed since we first started, but we wanted to. The problem was there's not enough stories around athletes in positive money situations. So we're going to write more articles and we're going to highlight athletes that are doing it. That was the problem we were solving. Now it's a little bit different. But I think that was the biggest thing that I learned early on that's helped me, at least from the get-go, to have kind of some structure as I've added more layers to what I'm doing.
Totally. And then practically speaking, right, I think it's important just to like understand like, okay, ideology matters, but like practically speaking, how does somebody engage and start working with you? Like lead me through somebody just comes to your website to, they're, getting a deliverable or the final product or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So specifically with the Frugal Athlete, we work with organizations, companies, but if we were working with the athletes specifically, the journey is, all right, initial call. They probably find us from social or a podcast or just happen to come across the website. They set up some time, initial call. That's what we do. Try to figure out, what their goals, what are their blockers, what are their objective key results, all that stuff. We take them through that process. Then the next thing we apply, whether it's going to be a 1 month, 3 month, 6 month program, because we're financial coaches. We're not going to be telling them what to invest in. This is the move that you should make in terms of your money. We're helping in terms of your behavior, your emotions, and your strategies around how you handle your money in relation to being a professional or student athlete. Our goal is to help you make, manage, multiply, and protect your money. And we give you resources or a game plan to do that. So whether it's a 1 month program, 3 month program, 6 month program, and if you need longer than that, ideally, we probably don't think you do. That's the process. That's the journey. That's the conveyor belt that we put them on. And then after, we kind of have like a closing of work where they have like the takeaways and the worksheets and the follow through that they can use for the rest of their life. Because once they've worked with us, ideally they'll work with now a financial advisor or a wealth manager to help them reach that next level of wealth.
Yeah. What do you, I have a few things that I heard from that. What from your experience has been some of the blockers financially for a lot of athletes?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot that are like obvious, and then there's ones that you don't even think about until you like really dive in and get under the hood of their situation. So you have emotional blackmail. That's one. You made it out of your situation. You're the sole provider or the main provider, and you got people pulling at your heartstrings to try to whether it's get some gifts, get allowance, be on stipends, and that adds to the pressure of not only performing, providing for yourself, sometimes providing for yourself and your immediate family, but then your extended family as well. You got bad spending habits. You got the greed of an athlete trying to build, and then doing bad deals because of that greediness or that eagerness or that aggressiveness without doing their due diligence. You got shady financial advisors. You got over leveraging yourself. You have bad spending habits. You have, there's a plethora of things that unfortunately affect athletes when it comes to their money management.
Yeah. How did you build the discernment to know that this was kind of the move? You know what I mean? And like this was like the way. You know what I mean? And I think it's beautiful the way you've set it up. So I'm just
to be honest, it's a lot of trial and error. It's a lot of trial and error. So I was fortunate enough, and I'm not like saying this like as some like visionary or anything like that, but I started a Frugal Athlete at a time where no one really was talking about it from the standpoint of like, all right, athlete and financial literacy and positive roadmaps on a consistent level. So that helped me because I was iterating without having to like see what was in front of me. It was basically, all right, what's working, what's not, what are people looking at, what are people not, how is this athlete responding to this session versus not, and then kind of building my own curriculum off that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Um, while you were a professional athlete, um, did you have mentors in your life, or did you kind of have to like utilize, your gut to like really make these good decisions that, have led you to this path?
No, that's a great question. I definitely relied on mentors. Mentors are the ones that challenged me to build out Frugal Athlete more than what it is today. Or sorry, more than what it is when it first started. It was just a blog, very simple website. But now it's, we have YouTube, we have the newsletter. Actually, we got to bring the newsletter back, but we just have a bunch of different things where it's actually like a potential business and not just a blog. Not to say that a blog isn't a business, but the way we were doing it, it wasn't set up.
Totally. Let's think back to like a few of your, trusted advisors. Like, what have been some things that have like always resonated or stuck with you in the last 10 years, maybe?
One of the biggest ones is following through, following up. So, when it comes to network, definitely follow through. If they're connecting you with somebody, one mentor always is like, you have 48 hours to respond. It's my name on the line. He was speaking more generally, but yeah, you don't want to waste a follow up. A lot of deals are done. Fortune is in the follow up because, especially in the world of sales or, partnerships, everyone's reaching out to everyone, but who's following up to see the deal through? Who's caring a little bit more? The second one is relationships, revenue, results. Those are the only three things people care about. Good relationships tend to lead to good results, tend to lead to more revenue. If you can establish those three things, you'll be very successful. Not to say you have to be like excellent in all three, but you have to focus on those three things. The third one would probably be just be nice. Being nice gets you indoors. People are willing to give you more chances if you're like a genuinely good person, even if you're not able to do the work as well. They want to be able to work with people that they enjoy being around. Obviously, it's not to say that you shouldn't be capable of your job, but being nice opens up a lot of doors.
Yeah. I think relationships are key too. And I'm curious just because I navigate this myself, and what I'm building, right? There's a level of imposter syndrome, frankly,
Whoa, yeah.
And especially as athletes, you're somewhat put on a pedestal, because people look up to you and they look forward to seeing you perform, right? What would you suggest that the athletes that are struggling with that right now?
That's a great point. And imposter syndrome is something that everyone deals with, even athletes. I would say you have to, this is going to be kind of convoluted, but you have to be humble, be curious, and, be willing to fail. As athletes, we're so afraid of failing, but in reality, it's not like we go undefeated during our seasons. We win, we lose, we tie, but we keep moving forward. So in business, we should give ourselves grace in failing or losing, because we could take those losses and turn them into lessons and turn them into wins. We have a great understanding of how to respond to different games. If we do well, if we do bad, like what do we need to focus on? Just like we do in film, just like we do when we have a bad run of form, we are able to pick ourselves back up. So we need to reverse their imposter syndrome and do that same thing in business. And we are all capable of doing that.
That's what's up. Man, that's super dope. That's a bar.
I appreciate that.
Now, let's walk through the last 4 years, because you were listed on Forbes Study Under 30. That is a massive accomplishment. So congratulations. I'm a lot of people probably find you from that video you have on YouTube, right? How I got into Forbes Study Under 30. Yeah. Let's talk about like the mindset that it took to even establish that as like a desired goal for yourself, right? And just a lot of books I've been reading. It's like, you're not going to get to your end goal unless you point it out. And so I just kind of want to unpack for you. I mean, if you can unpack, like, how did you create that as a vision? You know what I mean? Did you have a vision board? Like, let's get practical with it. Like, how did you start to, I mean, in a way, manifest it?
Yeah, so I definitely had a vision board. And it's funny because sometimes you write things down and you forget about it. But when you write things down, it's easier to remember and it's easier to manifest those things that you want indirectly, directly. And that's how it comes. Like, I honestly believe, like, if I didn't write that down, it wouldn't have happened. And the fact that I visualized myself possibly, getting that, that's what led to the opportunity to even have it come on to my plate as an opportunity where I had to, do the self-application process and no shame in applying or nominating myself. Sometimes you have to be your own biggest cheerleader. So that's what happened. When it came to doing my vision board, it was back in 2019. 2019, because we was dealing with COVID. I went to I got an Airbnb in the hilly area in this area of Sacramento, and just took my notebooks, couple journals, and really just all right, what do you want from your life? You're about to be done within 4 years playing soccer. What do you want those next steps to be? You started frugal. You're establishing yourself as an athlete business person. What does that look like? So I wrote everything that I wanted down, how I was going to get there for the most part, at least in the main categories, and then just kind of had a structure of how I was going to go about that. So what is it? Content? Is it going to events? Is it networking? Is it doing externships? And that's kind of what led to the things that I'm doing now. Although I'm not in the final stage, and there's never going to be a final stage of where I want to be, I'm on the path. And it's funny, I would say keep track of your wins, because there's times when things happen, you're like, wait, wow, that was actually on my vision board.
Yeah.
So you keep track of it and always kind of reflect. So the beginning of the month or the end of the month, find some time to intentionalize your goals. Whether it's you need to have the big goal and then reverse engineer it with small goals, or just reflect on things that you've done right, things that you've done wrong, things you could double down on, things you could fix, and kind of go from there.
That's what's up. And this next question might basically, I'm curious, what everybody has their own vision, obviously, but for athletes in particular, what is something that should totally be a part of their vision, in terms of a framework that you guys suggest? That being financially impact, what do you guys is one of those things that's a pillar?
I would say definitely business. I feel like every athlete is a business, whether they like it or not. And how you establish yourself as a business is up to you. You can be a small business. You can be a Fortune 500 company. You could be a Fortune 100 company. You could be a not-for-profit. But you are a business as an athlete. You as the athlete on the field. You as the athlete as a brand. You as the athlete, depending on how you work yourself in the community. You as an athlete, depending on how you handle your finances, how you handle your publicity. You're an athlete. And an athlete is a business. And the quicker you learn that, the better you will play on the field, the better you will perform off the field, and the better you will have an easier transition. So we try to get athletes to think of themselves as businesses so they can structure themselves as such.
Yeah, that's what's up. Well, dope. I kind of want to move towards more of the strategy playbook stuff. But before we go there, when do you think, if you can pinpoint a moment in your life, when have you grown the most in your life, and what caused that growth?
Oh, that's good. I think when my back's against the wall, you know. So I think of key moments in my career, whether it was my rookie year, I barely played. In that second year, I had to break through because I was going crazy. I was yo, what is going on? Coach not rocking with me. I got to either get out of here or I got to force his hand where he was you know what? All right, you're going to play this game and don't mess up. And I was all right, bet. And that's when I kind of broke through. Or, when I was a dealing with some injuries, and it was like, oh, now they have like you tagged as getting injury prone, and I was like, no, that's not the case, and had to work my way back, stay healthy, fight for my shot, and got a chance. Or free agency where no team was rocking with me, and I had to like reestablish my presence as someone that could actually ball. Or like A Frugal Athlete, where we started this business, obviously no funding outside of my own, but it's like, all right, how do we get in front of people? How do we establish ourselves as subject matter experts, and then kind of go from there?
Yeah, that's what's up. Who are your favorite people to follow in business? Like, who do you look up to if you were to pinpoint like 3 people in your life?
Oh, it changes during like with the seasons, but all right, I'll stick it to like athlete entrepreneurs, and then I'll go like entrepreneurs, and I try to go with people that like I can relate to. So if it's not diverse, I'm sorry. But athlete entrepreneurs that I think you should definitely follow: Andrew Hawkins, Paul Rabel, and JT Barnett. Those 3 are like, especially in the space that I'm trying to go to, those 3 are killing it. Non-athlete entrepreneurs, also Brandon Marshall. I'll give him like a asterisk for the 4th option. Non-athlete CEOs: David Shantz, game changer. He's got some really good stuff. Cody Sanchez. She's like this lady that like does like boring businesses, but she's really good. There's this new person I came across most recently. I was going to say Alex Hormozi, but the lane that he's in is a little bit different. So there's this one gentleman based in England. He has like the Diary of a CEO podcast. Yeah, he's so far so good from what I've been recently looking at. And then asterisk, you got the EYL crew. They obviously do a lot of good work, but that's 2. They're like a team. It's not just like one person.
They're good. Well, dope. I got a few more questions. We'll wrap it up. What values are important to you when you think about the kind of business you want to build? Because I think it's easy to think about, like, as an athlete, right? Maybe they're not business savvy. They're really focused on their craft. Like, they might think of a business as, you know what I mean? Like how do you build it right? And like, what does that look like internally, No,
that's good. I think what we want to stand for, at least me personally, is serve. So we serve before we sell. So how can we serve you? How can we help? How can we provide a lane for you to learn? Second, impact. So if you figure out ways you can impact, the income will come. And there's a common denominator with some of the things that I'm saying. Serve before sell, impact before income. So how can you be like a value add at the end of the day? Yeah. So those 2 right off the back. And then respect, because business is cutthroat and business is a sport in itself, but we want to have respect when it comes to business. We don't want to do like grimy stuff or like say we're going to do one thing, take the money and not do it. We figure out ways to work with everybody in a respectful manner, so that everyone's happy at the end of the day. We want to find more win-win situations rather than win-lose or win-tie or win or else.
Absolutely. That's what's up. I definitely align with that. What books have shaped your career the most? If you were to just,
and that also changed with the seasons too, because I read a lot. I wish I could show you like my mini library, but I would say right off the bat, Traction by Gino Wickman, Rocket Fuel, Gino Wickman, 10% Entrepreneur. Why am I forgetting his name? Patrick McGinnis, game changer, especially if you're an athlete. Winning the Money Game, Athlete CEO, both by O'Donnell Foyle. Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick David Bett or Bet David or whatever his name is. That one's I'm currently reading right now. There's so many good resources. The biggest thing though is not just to read, but to apply and then, act on what you're learning.
Love that. Well, dope. What is one final thought you want to leave our listeners with, Amobi?
I would just say, just start. I mean, I know it's simple advice, or probably some advice that anyone would share, but it's something I struggle with too. Like, I have so many ideas like that I feel like could take me to the moon, and I won't get there if I don't start them. So whether it's like, it's like a mini series or a content thing or a business venture or a blog, just start. It doesn't have to be like the next Tesla or anything like that, but you never know who's going to gravitate towards it. You never know the community you're going to build from it, the impact you're going to make. And if, as long as it's something that you're passionate about, something that you can say that you're skilled at as well, there's going to be opportunity. It may not happen tomorrow, it may not happen next week, it may not happen next year. But if you keep at it at a consistent pace, you're going to be very successful at that. And that is your definition to define when it comes to success, but you will be very successful at it.
Yeah, that's what's up. Well, sweet. How can listeners support you and all the work you're up to?
Dan, thank you. I would just say check out the website, www.amobiokugo.com. Follow me on social. And then if you want to connect, I'm open. Always trying to collaborate, always trying to connect with people that are game changers and visionaries in their own space. We can learn from everybody. And that's what I'm all about. So if you reach out to me, I'll definitely reach back. It may not be right away, but I definitely will reach back. And we'll get some things going.
Let's go. Well, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of the Strategy Playbook podcast. If you enjoyed this, make sure you go hit up Amobi on all socials, follow what he's doing. He's posting amazing content on the daily. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give it a like, subscribe, and we'll be back with more amazing people like this. Until next time, peace out.